to the engineer proposal from PHRA. This is a contract for technical and project management services. They have performed a similar service for the association since '04. We feel that we do not want to go out to bid for other proposals because they are familiar with the property, and we want to have them act as the project manager for the road improvement project for 07. And that will give you some way of I think it gives you more room for negotiation with them. They will provide you with their survey. I don't know what that is the way it was structured before.
Well, I think the only issue there is which approach gets us.
Saves you the money. Saves you the money.
You think a TMN contract saves us money?
That was Earl Sutherland. I don't know why he presented it as a lump sum. He, after discussing that with some of his engineers, he thought it would probably be better for the association to go with a TM arrangement.
How much did we pay them last year?
I don't know.
Does it make any sense to be at a TM not to exceed?
That would be a good question.
I mean, I would normally think if you're getting a lump sum, that's the deal. If you've got a scope that they're gonna do and you know what it is,
Right.
unless you think they can do it for half, then you want a TNM.
So TNM not proceed, not
But
to
a
exceed
TNM is gonna
20%.
cost $50,000, we don't want that.
Right.
So if you want a TNM,
But, you know, if these guys have been doing this for 3 or 4 years now, they ought to have a fairly good feel for what it ought to
this
cost.
is why the lump sum.
Which is why they bid it on a fixed price basis.
But they're going to do extra things, as I understand. For one, they're going to evaluate work done last year, shoulder work to see what shoulders have been blown out. They're going to do other things than they performed last year.
But they'll do that under the 29,000.
I think the only way to approach it is what Pat said, is to have it not to exceed 29,000.
If we apply a not to exceed, I could go along with it.
Otherwise, it's not.
Otherwise, it's just, it's open-ended.
By the way, this money is part of the roads program, the $360,000 roads program. So this is not a new budget item or an over expenditure or anything like that.
On the materials,
Yes, Chris?
I'm consistent with this kind of materials and not to exceed, but what I wanted to comment on is that last year, they did not serve us well in terms of evaluation of pitches and culverts, and you know that as well as I do, in terms of how we manage that process, particularly at the end of the game. But overall, they didn't incorporate ditch work into their road work. You know, that's basically what they said to us, that's just not something we did. So they have to do a better job this year, or it doesn't matter how much they charge us, it's not a good price. They did not do a good job last year, in my opinion.
I will lay that mostly at Dave's engineer's feet.
That's very possible, but our general manager is sitting here as well. So
If you could
it's
give
not
me
a
some,
bad thing for you to hear what I just said.
and if you give me some
You
ideas.
meet with Wayne
I
far
can-
more than I do. If Wayne runs out of things to tell you, then call me.
All right.
But I'm sure you can do that.
I know the issues and I know specifically what you're talking about. And it won't happen again.
Okay. I think that's really important. I think that we committed some sins last year.
I'm not real comfortable awarding a $29,000 contract to a contractor that we've just said didn't do a good job. Now, I realize there are extenuating circumstances, and we can blame Dave because he's not with us anymore, but
I would disagree with Chris on this point, because I don't want to leave a sour taste in your mouth.
all right.
I want you to know there's at least two sides to the story. I'm confident, I know, that Dave, the engineering, told him to cheapen up the project and not do the ditch work, or ditch work and masters is what you're talking about primarily. Because he knew he was way over budget and in trouble on the project and was looking for a way to cover his butt.
I know that that occurred.
And they complied.
I know that that occurred, but I still don't consider that serving us well. And I'm talking about what they didn't do. What they did do, I thought they did a pretty good job on. What they didn't do by omission was how they didn't service.
And that's the Masters situation, where that road was brought in late in the program, and Dave told him to do it wrong. And he knew he was already in trouble with money. That's what I found when I
All right.
investigated.
We generally understand each other here in terms of what I think needs to occur in this next contract. I'll tell you, the next RFP, the bid, I would be looking for that kind of work. I fully expect them to do it right next year. They didn't do it right last year. And I agree that Dave did not direct them correctly. I know that.
I'd like to make a motion that we award this contract to PHRA for an amount not to exceed $29,000 to be billed on a time and materials basis. All in favor?